You're back. You're with Fight Night Picks, and as always, one half your host, duo, Craig Allen, X, and Instagram at Craig Allen FNP. With me to my left,
it's
you're
still
right.
Twitter to me, damn it.
He's back. It's Matt Allen FNP, and for all the conspiracy theorists out there, Matt, you got me a piece of the Berlin Wall.
I was in 5 countries in 2 weeks.
Look at that. Matt is back and getting excited for a big-time main event. You can see it over there. Aljamain Sterling in his 6th straight title fight looking to defend the strap against Sugar Sean O'Malley. And this is an awesome fight at bantamweight because you always love to see new, fresh matchups. And for Sean O'Malley, I never would have thought that he would beat Petr Yan. See how excited I am. I scored that fight 29-28 O'Malley, and I was in the minority in that one, I know. MMA decision, 7-30-27s for Yan, 18-29-28s for Yan, and 1-29-28 for O'Malley. That was Matt Wells, friend of the show, but I thought Sean O'Malley get it done. But regardless of that, it was a really close fight. O'Malley ends up, after Sterling's last title fight against Henry Cejudo, coming in. He's got the leather jacket on, or does Moroz, and then we end up with a fight matched up like this. And this is a big-time fight because for the longest time, we've heard about Sean O'Malley and his grappling credentials. He's got his brown belt from Augusto Mendes, who was a UFC fighter at the MMA Lab. He's got Tim Welch as a buddy, a podcast host, and also a coach at the gym. Sean O'Malley has so many darn good grapplers at that gym, whether it's Casey Kenny, whether it's Marcus McGee. Where'd that guy come from? There's a lot of very good fighters at the MMA Lab to get Sean O'Malley ready for a fight like this. Now, is O'Malley, does he have D3 All-American status twice over like Aljamain Sterling? Can he out-grapple Henry Cejudo? Well, I haven't seen that out of O'Malley, but I have seen it out of Aljamain Sterling. And for Sterling, when he first came into the UFC, nobody was really sure. He just really couldn't get it done. But of late, again, 9-fight win streak for Aljamain Sterling. The sky's the limit, and he's been just absolutely beating some of the best competition that he can. So when it comes down to a fight like this, Matt, I know the fans are going to be excited. I know the Boston faithful are going to cheer for a guy whose last name is O'Malley.
Definitely.
But when it comes down to this matchup, Matt, I know you're excited as I am for it.
I think this is a tremendous fight because, again, Sean O'Malley is still a top contender, but I do feel like there's unknowns out there about him. And Aljamain Sterling is one of the great truth tellers in all of MMA. If you have a single weakness in your game, Aljamain Sterling's going to go out there and exploit it because not only is he a good striker, he is a tremendously talented grappler. Everybody knows that now. Does the guy get tired as fights go on? Not really.
The first Yan fight, but for the most part, Aljamain Sterling can not only throw a crazy high level of volume, he does have a really good gas tank to go along with that high level of volume, which makes him a difficult fighter to go out there and game plan for, because when you're trying to figure out a weakness in Sterling, okay, maybe you can knock him out if you hit him with a clean shot, but if that's all you're relying on in training camp, then what are you really trying to bring into the cage with you? But there's a storyline in this fight that I hate, and we have to bring it up. I hate the fact that Aljamain Sterling is 34 and he keeps on talking about the fact he wants to move up to 145. There is a point where every single fighter just can't fight at a division anymore. Look, Terrence Crawford just fought Earl Spence Jr. not that long ago. It was at 147. And a big conversation after that matchup was, well, Spence was too drained at that weight. He's going to fight at 154 to get the full potential out of him. For Aljamain Sterling, I don't like it when champions start talking about moving up in weight because the weight class isn't as easy for them to make anymore. And we have seen Sterling get hit by big shots, get hurt by big shots in the past. In that first Yan fight, he was getting lit up until that big knee. The Marlon knee is one of the most insane knockouts you will ever see in your life. It's just for Sterling, we have seen him get stopped before. We've definitely seen him get hurt before. And if he is flirting with moving up to 145, and let's say he does have a difficult weight cut, then those chips in his armor are going to be there for a guy like O'Malley to take advantage of. Because the thing I really like about Sean O'Malley is he's not going to be a guy who's really going to fight like a Max Holloway, right? He's not as in your face with his volume, but he's a sniper on the outside. And if he can time one of those big power shots as Sterling's going in for a takedown like Marlon was able to do, or with some of those great long-range punches that he can throw out there, I could see him clipping Aljamain and getting a knockout even early on in the fight, even though I think Aljamain Sterling is the more skilled athlete out of these two. I think there's more areas to his game, but Sean O'Malley does have that exceptional punching power and speed to go along. So Aljamain Sterling turned 34 on July 31st. It's very newly minted 34 for Aljamain Sterling. You said he's got chips in his armor. Like potato chips? Like Pringles?
No, like little, chips on metal.
Chips on metal. Chips on metal in the armor. All right, we're glad we got past that one.
There's chinks in his armor. Like, that's all it is.
Dutch, Lays?
It's just, for Aljamain, we've seen him get hurt. Everybody knows that. But if you are fighting at a weight class where you really are draining yourself and you are depleted, what are the two things that normally get affected the most by that?
your cardio, which Aljamain Sterling normally has pretty good, or your durability. And if Sean O'Malley is able to time one of those knees going up the middle or a big straight shot, even though Aljamain does have all those other skills at his disposal, we might not even see them if O'Malley can hurt him early.
And Sterling, it'll be really interesting to see how he fares as it goes on. You already touched on his durability in his last fight against Henry Cejudo. Split decision win there. I had him winning the first, the third, and the fourth. Derek Cleary somehow scored the fifth round for Aljamain Sterling, and I thought that was one of the wildest things ever. But when you go back and you look at a guy like Sterling, extended grappling sequences, he was all over Cejudo at certain points of that fight. It was definitely a show-me situation, and Cejudo was supposed to be on this card, take on Marlon Vera. Unfortunately, Cejudo fell out. The other thing for Sean O'Malley that makes this one all the more interesting, this is his first 5-round fight in the UFC. It's his first 5-round fight, and he came in on Contender Series, a Phoenix Rising, Season 1, 2017, finishes at Alfred Kashakian, gets the 2 knockdowns in that one, we're off to the races. Now, it's got to be awkward for O'Malley because he still clings to that I'm undefeated thing, and Marlon Vera's on this card, so you got to see him kind of prowling around in the back. But when you look at a guy like Sean O'Malley, whether it's the win over Petr Yan, where he struggled defending the takedowns, but he was able to strike at range, which was a surprise to everybody, whether it's the fights that he's had against Pedro Munhoz, where he gets kicked, but he rallies back, Howling Paiva, Chris Mutino in a fight of the night, that was kind of like a here you go Mutino, it's a fight of the night. Sean O'Malley, when it's at distance, with his kicks, with his straight shots up the middle, he is almost second to none in this bantamweight division. We've had to see that slow progression up. Now he finally finds himself in that title fight opportunity.
You know what would have been phenomenal? Because I agree with you 100%. Even think back, and I brought this fight up earlier, when Israel Adesanya was really getting that heavy promotional push from the UFC, they wanted him to fight for the title, right? But what did they make him do first? He had to fight Brad Tavares in a 5-round fight to almost kind of prove it to the organization that, hey, I am ready for that moment. So that's a really good point that you bring up. It would have been nice, and hopefully you appreciate this. What if Sean O'Malley fought John Lineker in like a 5-round main event or something? Like I know
John Lineker would have to make the weight first.
Exactly, but you get the idea. If he had just fought one of those guys who's really going to go out there, test him for the length of the 25 minutes, hit him with some big shots, get hit by some big shots, it would give everybody a much better idea as to how O'Malley's going to look in this matchup, because I think O'Malley can catch Aljamain early in a lot of rounds, but in round 4 and 5, I'm not going to guarantee anything. But from what I know about Aljamain Sterling, if he can get any form of grappling off in those rounds, he should be able to have tons of success.
Well, and I already touched on it at the very start of this video. Sean O'Malley, the quality of training partner, coaches that he has at the MMA lab. If you look at Aljamain Sterling, well, you had Denis Bazookia come in on short notice in the UFC not that long ago. Moroz Dvalishvili, Chris Weidman, who's going to be on this card, Matt Frivola. The list goes, Nazem Sadikov. It just continues to go. And it'll be interesting to see if Matt Serra ends up cornering, because he did corner Sterling's last time out there.
Sterling's always in the gym, too. That's the thing. Like, when you look at other guys' Instagrams who train with Aljamain, he's always there, which is a nice thing to see.
And whether he's in Vegas watching the fights, he's always there at the PI training. We have a look at Fight Night picks for the total votes on this one. They will not show up on YouTube, but that'll be an interesting thing. So let us know. 61% going with Aljamain Sterling to get the win in this one. Chandler Witt going out on a limb, mentioning everybody that Sean O'Malley trains with. We got Sean 8 ready for this, in my opinion. Will be good for Moroz if Aljo loses, TBH. Mark Sportiello saying, card was never that great from the start. Even more sad now. Sugar Sean by KO. Wow. And Bill Cipher saying, bantamweight's kind of a mess. 2 dudes that barely beat Petr Yan are fighting for the belt. I thought that Aljamain Sterling in the second fight against Petr, that was pretty one-sided. But for me, when it comes down to making a pick in this one, we'll have a look over on Tapology just to see if they're close. 72% actually have Sterling there. So more on Tapology have Sterling than we have on our YouTube right now. But for me, I do have Sterling in this one, though Sean O'Malley's shown me more. Even though, yeah, he's got the performance bonuses in the fight of the nights against some lower-level guys. What he was able to do against Petr Yan on the outside, there's a possibility that he can do the same thing against Aljamain Sterling there, but I do have Sterling. I think the wrestling attack could be a little bit too heavy, and I think that Sterling gets the win in Boston on the weekend.
Fighting Aljamain Sterling seems like you're fighting quicksand. Like, the more you move, just you're going to get yourself in worse and worse positions, because he is such a talented grappler from that perspective. He might not go out there and get a ton of submission wins. He does have submission wins, don't get me wrong, but it's just the fact that he's going to tire you out, break your posture. If you get back up to your feet, you're going right back down, and he threatens with so much that if O'Malley can't hurt him within those first 2 rounds, I wonder how much pop is still going to be on his shots if he's defending all of these grappling sequences. So I do have Aljamain Sterling ultimately in this matchup, but again, I hope I've said it enough times. If Sean O'Malley
This is how I'll say it. I think Aljamain Sterling more often than not would win this fight, but O'Malley could win it by first round knockout, and I wouldn't be surprised. You can't often say that in a fight.
Some big time matchups on this card, the 2 title fights. We need to know from you. What's your nickname for the young Punisher Pedro Munhoz? Let us know who you have there. It'll be on our Instagram and Twitter at Fight Night Picks. Question Mark Kicks live 2 hours before the prelims this weekend. I don't have any vacations planned in the near future. I don't think.
I don't.
Matt
either.
does either. Probably use those up for a while, but make sure you tune in with all of the content. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say.
Let's get into it.